Oh, what's written on the board isn't written book. No, it's written on the down. Might be added some molecules in it. That they might have put something on your arm. And the other is, so sometimes if you write something in the book, better. That tools orderly. Yeah. Orderly. That's the thing to remember. And subtle as well. Is that right, that's funny? It's also subtle. We begin with cosmology. On the board we've written a few things, but let's begin first with cosmology. What is cosmology? What is the study of cosmology? And we talked about in our booklet there, I think it should have been Sankhya cosmology. Sankhya cosmology is the practice and theory, if you like, that some yogis do to try to establish the origins of the universe. We've got lots of people telling us how it started, brings us back to think about the Mandelbrot, brings us to think about lots of things, but when we think about the universe, we think about ourselves. We sometimes think about our planet, we think about the solar system. We don't exactly think broader, because we say to ourselves, that's enough, we don't need to worry about that. We don't put that concept together with ourselves as a body, as mind. Now, cosmology in the dictionary is written down as an orderly, systemic whole. Now, if there was no order in the cosmos, we would have the opposite, which is disorder and chaos, wouldn't we? And if you think about your mind, in your mind, if your mind isn't orderly, and there's a few things that really rub me the wrong way. One is a very disorderly mind. Of course, there's other things too, but that's the main thing, is the disorderly mind. If your mind is organised, there is communication between your higher intelligence and what we could call here your physical intelligence. Mostly in the Western world, we have been quite industrious in developing the world around us and an easy place for us to live. We are very into industry. We are very industrious. While in the East, we can look at them and say, well, they're a bit slow. They don't do anything much in the third world country. And we are more superior. In Australia, we seem to think that we are, quite an advanced country. Let me tell you that my children are European, and my son wanted to get his license from Australia endorsed because he was living and working in Germany, and they wouldn't recognise his license because he is from a third world country, and we are behind China and India. Interesting, isn't it? So already your concept of yourselves being important, even your national pride, is now dashed. Then we think of ourselves as being the main person in the universe. I could talk all day on cosmology. I could talk to you and tell you that the Sankhya theory is there were certain sages belonging to this modality, and they spent their entire lifetimes, through thousands of years, trying to work out themselves. And by doing so, they stumbled across the universe. In yoga, the beliefs are that we are likened to the universe. The universe is likened to us. I like to explain the energetic vibration of the universe as the father of creation. So you could say that energy is the father of creation. We've given it a name. We say God or Allah or the other. I've forgotten the other one. I'm Jewish people. I've got out of my brain now. But we've all got a different name for it, and we put it down to saying, yes, that's okay. We need that. We do, I suppose, in a certain way. But when we look at cosmology, the universe and ourselves, we see that we are made up very much the same as the universe. It takes a while for us to wake up. We have a core and outreaching planets. And a lot of the translation from Sanskrit or Urdu into English calls many layers within us planets. Oh. They say, to just summarise what Sankhya believes, is that the great eternal one. Now, if you want to say God, say God. If you want to say the energetic vibration that is beyond our conception, say it. Now, that to me is totally irrelevant. So no matter what you think, is absolutely irrelevant to me in that respect. But you are not going to be able to say, I know that this specifically happened at the beginning of time. You can only base your facts on what we read or what we learn from, from my perspective, modality and science. To say that this father of creation or this energetic vibration that was in the beginning, let me tell you a story about myself on top of the roof, which now I will never go on again because now they've built another story on top. So it makes it too high and too dangerous for me to go up that high. I was sitting there one day, as was the wont of my teacher, to tell me that I had not repeated my mantra enough, and I should sit on the roof and contemplate it. So I sat on the roof, and I had about 10 days in which to contemplate it. And one of these days I saw an ant, and I watched the ant. And the ant was very, very busy, and it came to the top of where the small worship centre is downstairs. There's always a little top on it and a flag. And the ant came and walked a little bit backwards and forwards and didn't know how to get over this great hurdle. And I thought to myself, I watched the ant for hours, and I thought, I am not in the ant's world, but the ant is in my world. So it didn't matter to the ant that it couldn't see me. I could see it. Therefore, I had the idea it should go around, not up and over. But I couldn't tell it, don't go up and over, go around. So yogis tell us that this universal conscious energy had an idea. All was equilibrium. All was settled like a great lake that has a lovely flat surface, very calm, not a breath of wind, nothing. There was nothing. And all of a sudden, there started movement, like an idea. From this idea that was full of potential, became manifest, and the world came into being. What came into being was, of course, two very important elements: Prakriti, Akasha. Akasha is said to be the vibration, or the ether, if you like. Prakriti is the movement, the essential will, if you like. It is in your book, so you'll be able, well, not actually the stories I'm telling you, but you'll be able to sort of see how that works. Now, I've taught for many years people to understand this concept. On the board you'll see that the scientific name for Prakriti, which we talk about in our class situations as being the essence of the breath or the life force within the breath, etc., etc., his scientific name is called Avyaktam. So Avyaktam is the So it's potential, it's undefined, it's unseeable, it's unmanifest. Being unmanifest does not mean void, there was nothing. It means there was potential. There just needed to be a change of vibration to have creation. And now you're looking at me and thinking, how is that possible? Well, I'm going to ask you to put your pens down now. And I'm going to ask you to experience this. I'm going to ask you once again to look at your hand and be in the moment. Close your eyes. And the idea is that you look ahead. You are going to use the Ajna chakra. And I want you to look forward and see just nothing, just darkness. There's absolutely nothing there to see. Just look forward. There's absolutely nothing there. Now I want you to visualize a flame. Visualize a flame. I want you now to feel the warmth of the flame. Make it stronger. Feel the warmth. The intensity of the colour. Now destroy the flame and come back to nothing. Allow your mind to settle afterwards. Just settle the mind down. Now create a tree. If the tree is right in front of you, look at the tree. The tree's alive and it has a vibration. Now annihilate the tree and return to nothing. And then open your eyes. Did anyone get to visualize the flame? Did you feel it? Did you annihilate it? Did anyone see a tree? Did you sustain it? Did you annihilate it? So, haven't you just recreated some part of the universe yourself? Only you didn't see it with your eyes. Created it, maintained it and destroyed it with the power of your own mind, and all you were using was your lower mind. Therefore, it stands to reason that if this universal energy or this creating energy that we call whatever we call, it's got to be more powerful than you are, isn't it? Because it also creates, maintains and destroys. When we move through life, we have lots of experiences and we learn by those experiences, like when we're children, when we're adults, we don't stop learning. There was an experiment done a few years ago on some mice, and they had a ladder in the cage, and they had it so that when the mice climbed up the ladder, they'd fall and hurt themselves. Now what happened? The first lot of mice went up and fell down. The second lot of mice, after a while, they went all the way up and then they gingerly came down. The next generation of mice went a little way up and came down. The next generation of mice looked at the ladder and never went up it. Interesting, isn't it? So that's their experience. they evolved to the intelligence of not to go up the ladder, you get hurt. We're so intelligent that we usually would say that there is God standing on the top of the ladder, so we can't go up, so we actually make a monument to the stairs because it's pretty holy. It's more powerful than we are. Then we forget that this is all man-made and that conscious energy is still pervading the universe. Scientists haven't been able to tell us as yet how old the universe is, but recently they told us that they found that the universe was, I've got the figures written down, so many million years, but they just finished telling us that there were planets in the universe that were about 10 times older than that. So I'm not quite sure how they're going. We all need organised religion in our life to keep us orderly, so that there is not absolute chaos. As we've seen in places like Iraq and Afghanistan and in Africa, when there is no police force, when there is no organisation, there's chaos. So a lot of people need to learn how to live orderly lives. So religion's a good way for them to do it. Although, if anyone can remember back to before the Crown Casino in Melbourne, do you remember all of the leaders of all of the churches in Melbourne getting together to pray that the casino went bust?
Yes.
I mean, not quite your job, was it, fellas? Back off. So we have ways of taking us away from the very core of what we're here to learn. We know that the world is made up of atoms and molecules, so are we. We know that there is almost like templates, you could say, of something, always something greater than ourselves. Always the whole world is full of cycles, going all the way. Everything's a cycle. Even this global warming is a cycle. If you're in a position like mine, you don't get terribly worried about it, because it's not, it's happened before, it will happen again. If mankind dies out, so be it. The souls will find other ways of reincarnating to have their experience. They don't necessarily need a physical body. We know here that Prakriti and Akasha everything is part of it. So we know that mind is a subtle form of Prakriti. And we know that we are here to experience on this earth. In this dimension. Therefore, we have been given organs of action and perception. The same, the yogis say, as the energetic creator of this universal energy. It also was supposed to have had a mind and a body. Everything that's in the cosmos is said to be the body of the creator. And you think that's a little load of poppycock. That's all mythology. Think about it. Isn't it easier to say it that way than to go on to some really fantastic avenue of thought and theory that doesn't really lead you to anywhere? Our main aim is to look after ourselves and the cosmology of ourselves. Here before, you are able to manifest something, you are able to create it, sustain it and annihilate it. And you saw it. How did you see it if your eyes were closed? How did you see what you created with eyes closed, because everyone sees things with their eyes, don't they? With their eyes open. Nobody knows? We saw it with Joe. We can all start our yoga class. So, I had this fantastic introduction for Joe today. Poor Joe. And I lost my train of thought. I've just started creating the cosmos, by the way, Joe, so it's all right. So, we couldn't see, because our eyes are closed. When we die, our eyes are still open and looking, but they don't see. Something is making it see. The same something on a higher level, a cosmic level, that lights up your dream. Because if you chance to have another dream and have a look, there's no sunshine there, there's no sun. But it's lit up a warm blue sky. Interesting, isn't it? How does it happen? So, with the eyes closed, consciousness has been shut off from the eyes. It's consciousness that makes you see. So it would be the organs of perception, which yogis call indriyas. These organs of perception is what you see, feel and touch with. Is everyone okay with that? When you experience something, you grow and learn. Therefore, the yogis tell us that the world around you has been created for you to learn by. On Thursday night, we had a nutrimetics party, didn't we? And do you think, what sort of an experience do you think that was, Michelle? What sort of an experience was it? Yeah, very joyful. All the girls were happy, all the boys were unhappy because mine hasn't seen my checkbook yet, but anyway. All the boys got a few lies said, a bit of mumble. What did you say? Mumble, you know. But did you think it was a spiritual experience? No. But all experiences are spiritual. Think of the vibration. You choose to be a girl in this life, a female, or the girlhood will go. Then you'll be an old girl like me. But you choose to be a female. Therefore, that vibration was fine. You wouldn't like to go somewhere where you sniff into the engine of a car, would you? Whereas the guys would love that. But it was the perfume, makeup, the putting things on. That's what was joyful. But it was spiritual because it was the vibration was correct and true to your inherent nature. Is that right? So it doesn't matter if you cry tears of distress. It's a spiritual experience. The world around us is at war. We're at the beginning of the 1,000 World War. 1,000-year war, as we're told. And that's okay, because that's what we chose. Believe it or not, man is not as nice. They do not learn very quickly. So that's a matter of choice. And I must say that when the old boys get down at the golf club and say how much better they would do it if they were in charge, they didn't, did they? Therefore, these young people coming up are inheriting all their mistakes. And these young people will get old, go to the golf club and complain about the state of the world and forget that these kids coming after them have inherited their mistakes. No one's going to be a nice politician and put anything right, and do we want anything? We probably don't. Now, so we experience through everything the cycles. The universe has cycles, we have cycles. All of us. Men have menopause. Okay? You like that? Get that one in. That's a good one. But we have cycles of wake, sleep, wake, sleep. You see the baby. Cry, wake, eat, sleep, cry, eat. You know, it's a real cycle going on. And we have the cycles of autumn, summer, winter, spring. All these are cycles. There's cycles going on within ourselves too. So not only is the universe, has the universe these cycles, we also have the cycles. See the similarity? We are products of nature as humans, not as soul. So when we perceive something around us, we don't understand really how we perceive it, how it works. Remember the mice? We call this perception, perhaps, shall we say, of smell. These are tanmatras. Tanmatras, the translation is that a tanmatra is something that comes on an ethereal wave so that we can't see it, but when we have it on a, we receive it on a very high level, our indriyas, or our organs of perception, perceive it, transform it into our brain as what it is. Now, what I want to do in a moment is show you how that works. I'm going to hand around some roses, which we didn't realise, but look at the colours, you couldn't believe it, could you? I'm just such a magic person. I didn't bring the yellow ones, I got the red. So, could you hand them around? I want you to just take it and just experience your rose and hand it on. No, don't take the rose, just smell it. Yes. Did everyone experience the perfume? What did it change anyone's feeling? Did you kill the rose? Did you take any life force from it? Did you?
No. Yes. Just reproduction of it.
If you took the tanmatra, you took nothing from it. You only experienced the ethereal wave that comes and emanates from a living, at this point, at this moment, the living rose. I did because I cut it. But it didn't die or wilt because you experienced it. Now, if you experienced this and it was growing, it would take its natural course, it would die, change shape, and it would seed and grow again. Isn't that right? Mm-hmm. And that is what the tanmatra is. So, actually, did you feel a vibration when you came close to it? So, actually, you didn't need your nose because You perceived it with what we call the indriyas. You perceived it with the organs of action and perception. Isn't that right? So you see, the world around you, no matter what you do with it, gives off the vibration as well for you to experience. You didn't need your eyes to experience the flame. You didn't need your eyes to experience the rose either. But when you did experience it with your eyes, you had actually, you enjoyed it better, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Now, in yoga we say that this universal energy puts forth part of its own consciousness so that it will come back to it, because it cannot, they say that the universal consciousness cannot actually participate in its own creation. If we look at ourselves, we see this is also correct. If we are creating something, we can't participate in it. And also, we need something to help us experience the world around us. Isn't that right? Yogis tell us that you are a spiritual being, a spirit who has no body. You are pure consciousness. Not all pure consciousness, of course, is spiritual. It can be tainted. But they say that you have come into a body to learn. So consciousness has entered the body. The same they say about universal consciousness. This overall consciousness has put out parts of itself, parts of its own consciousness, so that it can experience through you and me, through the trees, through the sun, through the wind, if you like. To have all those experiences, it needs to have organs of action and perception, and that is through you. That yogis tell us that the world is actually for our enjoyment. Ultimately, the ultimate enjoyer is the soul of your soul, which is that universal consciousness. So, you cannot, as a body, see or feel until this experience reaches the organ of perception. Can you understand that? So, it really doesn't matter whether you sit cross-legged for the rest of your life and or if you go out and experience the world around you, you will not grow and evolve unless you experience what you need to experience. Now, we're going to have a video in a little while, and I want you to, this weekend especially, to realise that you are not this body. This body is organs of action and perception. Now, of course, we know that Prakriti and Acacia is what started all of the vibration, the intention. We know now about void, unmanifest, manifest, annihilation. We also want to explain about the atoms that are around. All of this that we call nature is matter. What is outside of that is antimatter. we know that karma, evolution, enlightenment, the soul, not the soul, the body, the astral body, all belong to matter. So an atom is a particle of matter so small that it cannot be divided or cut. You'll realise that. That's all part of matter. A molecule is the smallest part of any substance which retains the properties of that substance. Now, a lot of people have asked me what this means. Anyone know what that is? No. That is the lingam. But when we take something on face value without thinking about it a little bit closer, we see that we're like the mice. Over time, we saw the lingam. Yogis tell us that the lingam also goes down as far as it goes up. The lingam looks like an atom, except that as time went on, for the benefit of bathing this thing, they put a lip around it, because you bathe the lingam in milk, and the milk is held, it comes out, it pours down, and as it pours down, you catch the milk and you take it as prasad. But over the years, it's been put into something else, so everyone thinks how it's a bit outrageous. And most of my devotees don't like putting it on their puja. But it is to remind us of creation and annihilation. Because we think that we are dense because we see each other and can't see through each other, although sometimes we can. But we are not. We are made up of all these little particles of energetic matter. Now, we're going to have a look at a video, and on this video, you will see that there is life on body, cosmos, other than you understand. We are not the only soul in the body, and that's important for you to remember that. I'm always asking you to remember that you are the main tenant of the body. You are not the body. You are not the main soul in the body. Therefore, it is not yours. It is yours to look after and take care of, as is your mind. And this, thank you to Pushpa, who's donated to us, is a very good example of what I'm trying to talk about. While we're setting that up, we have to remember that within us, our nature is tamas, rajas and sattvika. So we have, avyaktam is defined as the equilibrium of the three forces. Once that you get all these three forces or three parts of your nature under control, you'll have equilibrium. Same in the cosmos. Once these three forces are under control, you will have equilibrium, which means no movement of energy whatsoever, which is, in a lot of people's words, annihilation. And from annihilation comes rebirth. He is the great universe. And we created the body which our mind and consciousness dwells in. But we didn't create everything else. Therefore, we know that there is something great again tell you, please read your books tonight, because there's a lot of information in the books that I haven't got time to give you, but that you will read it. When you come in the morning, we have question time. So any questions you have, write it down in your book and ask me the questions, and we go over that first thing in the morning. Now I'd like you to just have a rest for a while, go outside, have a cup of tea, have a bit of fresh air, because we're going to come back for a debate and discussion about reincarnation. So, thank you very much.
Please be seated.
So this is those of you who went to the meeting and put your little donations in. Didn't quite reach the total apparatus, but we've managed to get now a microphone, which, thank you very much, is going to help my voice. So we've all just seen a video where science comes to recognise some of the teachings or the metaphysical teachings of the yogi, and I'm sure that you've got something to say about it and something to think about it. Does anyone like to mention anything about it or what they thought, what the video left them with? Thirst for a cup of tea? No. What I wanted to move on, because now you understand that you're not exactly the body. It's so important. It's the fundamental belief. When you say, I feel good, who are you talking about? Do you really feel good, or do you feel good? It's very interesting. Yogis tell us that everything on this earth is an experience, and everything that we're given is only for the sake of learning. I remember once driving, this one got rid of me, with my husband in the car, and I said he was the most material person there was, and I said to him, you know, in this life you will own nothing. "You're crazy woman." Started yelling at me, but I said, you can't own anything. You can have it for a short time, but you cannot keep it. Now, even if you've paid money and you think, I own that, you can't keep it. It's not really yours, it's on loan. Which brings us to the form of, in your books, you must read tonight, that we have either air, fire, water, which makes up ourselves as well as the world, and how that comes into being, how Akasha and Prana come together and make this happen is in the book. So please read that part of it tonight, if nothing else. But now we know that the subtle body, the subtle energies within us, do not need the eyes, the ears, the nose and the mouth unless you are in the world. The cell doesn't need the eyes, ears and nose and mouth. It has intelligence that tells it where to go. We have intelligence and something added, but we don't take notice of any of it, do we? So let me tell you that we know that we have a body, mind and soul. Is that correct? We all realise we have a body, mind and soul. If you don't want to say soul, you can say we have body, mind, intelligence. We have the physical body, which has the instruments of our experience. Then we have a subtle body, which has the instruments or the organs of perception. Because we know when we saw the flame, we didn't need our eyes. When we have a dream, sometimes we don't know what we're going to dream of before we go to bed at night, but all of a sudden, what was potential becomes our reality on a different level, which you remember is full of karma. So watch what you're dreaming, and learn to lucid dream. Now, we have the physical body, the subtle body. This is called the antakarana, the linga. Remember, the lingam, it is the one that is creating, maintaining, destroying. Very important, like you did, that also happens on this level. Now, the antakarana is mind and intelligence, and it controls your organs of perception. Do you want to understand that? So on a subtle level, you experience the tanmatra, the ethereal wave that was coming from the rose, so that you knew, because you're intelligent enough, even with your eyes closed, you would know it was the perfume of a rose. So you perceived the smell. You couldn't see it, you perceived it. Unlike energy, you didn't steal it. You experienced, you perceived. Because your mind wasn't in anything negative, it was just waiting. So we have the antakarana, which moves between the worlds. Moving between the worlds, I mean between here, the astral states, the higher astral states, and back onto a physical realm again. You must remember that it dissipates on reincarnation, leaving only the mahat, which is part of you that is called, or part of your nature, which is called the great. And within this great is that, if you like, that higher consciousness, or that spiritual part of you, which we call the Purusha, which is usually seen as a blue, coloured whatever, which we say in yoga, your God within, is your Purusha. Now, when we think about reincarnation, we know that life is a constant flow of souls coming and going. Is that correct? Apparently in India, every second is a child born. Unfortunately, that's not the case in Japan, where they are not having lots of babies, so they're becoming a dying race. But think about that. What I wanted to also talk about is your remembrance about who you are at this point in time. When both of your parents have died, you become an orphan. No matter how old you are, when your parents die, you are an orphan. You have no parents. When your mother dies, there'll be no one to remember your birth. Probably no one to remember your first word or your first tooth. I'm not talking now about I was put into care so no one cared about me. That's totally irrelevant. There was somebody who did. Our present nature that we have is our conditioning combined with the ramifications of karma, past karma and present karma. This karmic ramification gives us the opportunity to learn, to grow, to look back and to give back. It's very important that you give as good as you receive. Perhaps in some ways better. I remember when we left the centre at Collingwood, it was told to me, look, we took it over in a terrible state, we'll just leave it like that. And I said, no, in Samta Yoga, we leave better than we found. It's a discipline that we could think about giving ourselves.
Because people will think about us and love us. People will think about us when we're old, perhaps. People will remember us when we die, and people will forget us. I remember recently going to my granddaughter, and she said she started having one of her hissy fits, screaming, "I'm lonely, no one loves me, my mummy and daddy gone." I said, "Get real. I miss my grandma too, and I don't yell and carry on like that." She sort of stopped because she knows she can't get past, she always forgets every now and again. And she said, "You had a grandma?" Like there's no other grandma before me or after me, I'm it. I said, "Yes, I do. And I miss her." She said, "Oh, where is she? Is she in heaven?" I said, "Yes, she's gone to heaven." She said, "But what happens, Grandma, when you cry?" I said, "Sometimes I cry for my grandma, but if I close my eyes, I can see my grandma." "Oh," she says, I would miss you too. I didn't know you had a grandma." You see? My grandchildren don't know about my grandmother, who was actually, without my grandparents, I wouldn't probably be here today. And how important they were to me in my life, and ultimately to my children as well. And my granddaughter's grandchildren will never know me. Let's hope she's got the idea I've got to babysit them, but let's hope that doesn't eventuate. So think about that. You will not be remembered. You will not even remember yourself. Now all those great dramas in your life at the moment now take on a different meaning, don't they? All the nonsense that you go on, "I've done this, I've done that, this," and who cares? No one's going to care about it. What is important is your attitude to your life and the life around you. Leave it better than you found it. Sometimes your children forget who you are, because I showed a son of mine a photograph of me when I was young, and he said, "Did you ever look like that, Mum?" "Well, you don't remember?" "No." Isn't it interesting? So what I was yesterday, I'm not today either, and so it is forgotten. As we move on, we will realise that no one remembers our actions or our deeds. No one knows, perhaps, the sleepless nights we had with a sick child. And no one cares, not even the sick child. So you can't dwell on anything, because nothing is permanent except the consciousness within you. That's the only permanence you've got. When we think about it, when we leave this earth and what we do is we leave the physical body behind, and we take with us only, we don't go, we take with us only the astral body. Now mine's going to look about 28 years old, no glasses and no grey hair. When I'm gone, I can tell you it's going to look all right, because it's not you, it's what you have created. Very important that you remember that. It's what you have created. So that written on you, on your vibration, is exactly who you are. But this 80 years or so isn't enough for us to learn and experience, because you can only do that to a certain amount of time in a physical body with the physical surroundings. You need more times to come and more experiences to have. Therefore, the body will dissipate. Eventually, karmic reaction takes in. When you read your book, you'll see about that vibration that goes in the earth, that attraction, repulsion, always renewal, maintenance, destruction, renewal. It goes on all the time, and it goes on with you as well. Therefore, according to the karmic laws, you will come back for another go. No, you won't remember. Very seldom do people remember past lives. Usually when we get to a certain age that you think you could have had a past life and you think this life's not so good, so the last one was better. So you imagine one. It's pretty good, because then you go, remember the Bridie Murphy case where they found out that she actually had read a lot of books when she was a child. So you have to leave all that behind you. And I know that some of you don't like me saying it, but I don't like past life regression. It's not going to get you anywhere. Only get someone else to take control of you and your mind. Your mind has to go on, not back. Now, as we do, we hopefully get a better vibration every time, but we can also go backwards. So let's just now experience the vibration. I want Nils, can you sit there, Nils? And can you come up near him, Rob? Just a little way apart. That's it. Not too close. About just a little bit more apart. Now I want Glennis, can you come and sit over here? Just put your back to the board, not to, you put your here. And Silvana, can you come down here as well? Just near me here. Now these entities, I'll say, or these consciousness has decided to come this time as a female. And these two have decided this time to become a male. Now this male is a totally different vibration to this as a female. I'm sorry girls, but that's the way it is. So you have both within you, but predominantly female. To survive, you might have to every now and again get that real survivor warrior instinct going, but basically your nature is nurturing, soft, gentle. Because if you put them to the test, there's not many men can hear a child murmuring in the night 3 rooms away. Is that right? He will sleep through it, and you could throw a bucket of water over him and he still will not know that kids kept you awake all night. And even if you say, listen Harry, that baby kept me awake all night, you say, oh yeah, what's for breakfast? Right? But the wife will get up. Now, male on the other hand has a strong survival instinct, therefore they're built stronger. Do you understand? So even if the Burner Bra libs want to tell you that you can do it all, it's not really what you're here for at this point in time. Now I want each of you to come up and just run your hand, don't touch, just run your hand near the female vibration and then the male vibration and get a little bit of a difference, just a vibrational difference. Just get in there. You don't have to take forever. It's 3:10 already. Time come quick. Not too close. You're only just getting the difference of vibration, not to know if you're going to die next week.
existing.
But they have a different one because they're a hunter-gatherer type of.
So does it manifest in the subtle, does it manifest differently as well? So like I can't think of a situation that's sort of given a crunch. What would be the difference? They have a totally different reaction, but what would it be?
Well, a woman, if there's something on, a man will try to fight it, where the woman would gather up all the stuff that's, really dear to her and go, like her kids and all the rest of it, and, photographs it. Just
But
say,
sort of like withdraw and
yeah.
is it?
And the man is sort of, well, normally the man will stand around and fight. Yeah. Now, so now did you all feel a difference?
Yeah.
That's vibration. That's a masculine vibration and a feminine vibration. And that's the two that we'll deal with at this point in time. So you have different vibrations, and so you as the soul or that energy or that intelligence are in this life actually finding out what it's about. You're here experiencing that. So you can just sit back there, that's okay. Thank you very much, you two. And that's all to do with karma. Now there are group souls who incarnate. Not all souls incarnate, and tomorrow we'll talk about the ones that don't incarnate, but we're interested in the souls that do incarnate. It is said that a group of souls at the moment are evolving in the third dimension. So if you think about it, you can see, if I'm looking at Mandy here, I can see the front of Mandy and the two sides. I don't see with my normal physical vision her rear side. Now, when I years ago had a test with some people, they asked me to see the back. And that is on a fourth dimensional level. You understand dimensions now? So ordinarily you cannot see that fourth dimension. You must have a totally different mind set to be able to do it. And it takes a lot of lifetime, shall we say. Now, it is said that once these souls have time is of the essence, have a certain amount of time in the blue planet third dimension, they will, and that takes in astral realms, they will dissolve back into this energetic vibration and come again on a different dimension and start again. Now, so that they can experience every single dimension. Now, you might think, I've got enough trouble here, but you don't have to worry about it because there's someone pulling the strings anyway, and it's already been put into motion. The only thing you've got to worry about is your reaction and your will. Very important. The other thing is that there are certain groups within the larger group. Now these groups could be different countries, different groups. So you could move from one group to the other. So you could be born this life in Argentina and the next time in the Sudan. That is irrelevant. But you may need those experiences. At the present moment, you're here, and you're here and now. So your vibration, as this group, have brought you here, at this point in time. So if you've got all this going on, why would you worry if you were Cleopatra? Huh? Why would you worry about a previous life? What you actually have to worry about is your reaction to whatever experience you're having now. Because that plants seeds and takes you through to the next life. It also depends how you do it here,
is how you will get on in the next life. Or, as my grandmother used to say, you made your bed, you lie in it, right? So, make your bed now, you can lie in it in the next life, and if it's lumpy, it's your own fault. Now, what we want to know is, how come you all got here? Prove it. You can't just sit there and tell us we come here because we're all in one soul group. Prove to us how we did. And I'm going to ask you to prove it to yourself now. I've got some questions on the board. There are 4 questions which I'm going to ask you to break into groups, and I'm going to ask you to discuss these questions and get an answer. These questions that I'm asked you will actually give you a lot of answers. So please break yourself off. How many people are here? We have 5 groups here. Your time's table, Jackie, come on.
Oh, no, that's what I'm just thinking. It's just brilliant the way she just does it instantly.
I had a very good grade 4 maths teacher.
All right, well, if you could get them into groups, my dear, yeah.
So there's 4 questions, so we better just have 4 groups.
No, you're all going to ask all the questions you're going to discuss.
Okay, I'll give you a number, it'll be random, so there'll be 5 groups. 1, 2.
No, we won't do that. You just tell them where the groups are and they go. You just tell them there's one group here, one group there, one group there,
Right,
and everyone go.
There's a group there, there's a group here, there's a group there, there's a group there.
Now go into the group that you feel like you want to go into. It has brought you together before, it has brought you together now, and it will bring you together again. So the topics you have for discussion are, number 1, what in this life do we have in common? Number 2 is, have we had similar dreams as children or similar thought patterns? Have we had similar glimpses of previous lives, such as a country or a time? And number 4, is there a place you always wanted to visit since childhood? Now, I can give you an example of this. Melinda? Okay. Linda McIntyre. Michelle and Sophie are sitting together, right? They have the same colour shirts on. They didn't know that their ancestry is very closely linked. I think you found that out Thursday night, wasn't it? Okay? That your grandmothers used to have practically the same recipes or the same type of food you cooked. Therefore, you naturally have come together because all that makes up who you are today, and even the food you eat, what you drink, what you think, is all made up like that. So if you stop and think about it, why on earth you get worried about life is just, it all happens, isn't it? So you have actually, you two have answered all the questions without doing anything at all. So Sophie, you can be the facilitator there. And now you can, the other groups can choose. You see how easy it is? If you just relax, that's how easy it is. Okay, everything's simple in life. It's only you that makes it unsimple. So please pick your facilitators and let's get rolling on the debate.
What we found we had in common was our vibration, the yoga, and location, and then in that we're all not in Melbourne, but we're in Victoria, in Australia at this time. And when we, as pursued it further with our aunt's background, we seem to be mainly of the English, Irish, Scottish, around that part of the world. The dreams were set around medieval times. Some were flying, to do with flying, birds, or being chased. We then talked about what we liked to do in our childhood as well, and like maybe games or something from the children, and once again it was the medieval games, Robin Hood, cowboys. Some had a desire to be nuns, so the spiritual interests were awakening even in those days. The glimpses of previous lives were Egypt was the strongest contender, India, England, Ireland. The times or the eras were around medieval times, and maybe in the early 1900s here in Australia, like in the bush. It's from one of our group. There was somebody else said that although they hadn't got any sense of a previous life, when they visited Canada they felt really familiar, and we thought that was probably an example. The place that people wanted to visit since childhood, once again, was Egypt, India, Ireland, southern England and Scotland. There were a few radicals who wanted to go to Hawaii, Disneyland, Japan. And there's others from Spain and Greece. And somebody said they always wanted to go to the mountains, for example, the Himalayas. The fears that came up from childhood, which was the last question, were on dying, the dark, being alone, falling into the void, getting into trouble. And one of our groups said they had no fear at all till they got older.
First question, we had 4 librarians. Over here, we could have made it 5. And we were,
brought out his childhood fears.
We're all born in Australia. We have similar attitudes to life. We're sort of searching. We're on the same vibration. We live in Victoria. We all have a body and an ego. We're feeling there was more to life. Most felt that yoga was perhaps, when we started, was more physical than spiritual, but it tended to be, we found that it's a bit different from that. It's a lot more spiritual than what we first thought. We're always questioning, and as kids we always ask why, when we were around 2 or 3, I suppose. Wouldn't be many of us in here that didn't. In question 2, there were 3 of us felt life was a bit of a dream, like it was surreal, like that we were always sort of watching ourselves, or we were taking part in something, or looking at ourselves from another perspective, maybe on our actions. Maybe that was in terms of morals and how our conscience was developing, I suppose. Maybe as to why we're all here. Some of us felt we didn't belong. We had dreams of being late or forgetting things, going nude to school, or in your pyjamas. Maybe things were not being organised. Chasing dreams. Some of us had lucid dreams, and there's a couple of us had spaceship dreams. So space has come up again.
But they're mainly librarians.
Question 3, have we had similar glimpses previous lives? Egypt again come up as a place, and Africa, Japan. Someone said that they had dreams of going home too. So it's interesting. And question 4, is there a place that you always wanted to visit since childhood? It was India, Sphinx, England. People said Australia, mountainous areas, the sea, tropical rainforests. I guess Egypt is probably the things. And the greatest fears was rejection, abandonment, darkness. It wasn't alone that they weren't alone in the room. Father, mother, failure, acceptance. And at school it was librarians. That's a bit ironic, isn't it? I think I have. Yeah. I'm not scared of Tulsi anymore. That's why she wasn't here. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
The one done before past life, as Bernadette myself do as well.
Tulsi, part of your group, you're all sleepwalkers, weren't you, or something?
Yeah, there are a few of us in the circle.
So that was what you had in common?
And looking around, also there's 3 nurses here and 2 healers.
So you see, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because here's your vibration who has brought you together before, and it'll bring you together again. It's there's just that's the way it is. That's the way karma works. And the only thing that you can do as a physical entity and with your physical mind is to adapt to these situations and move on, and do not hang on to what has gone. Now, Michelle, could you turn to page 26 of your booklet? And start down the end and read that page in the next since. Would you like to stand up and do it? You can come out here and do it if you like. Or turn to your booklets, page 26 and 27, down the end.
Last paragraph. Since this universe existed, there has always been a universal intelligence, and we have always been able to tap into that intelligence whenever necessary. It has always been and always will be. This intelligence is not restricted within Prakriti. Therefore, we can tap into it, into the physical state, and also the state of mind. When we reach the seer state, we will merge with this cosmic intelligence. All existence is manifested from that mind. It is always there, and we are all part of it. When, to the knower of Brahman, everything has become the self, then what should one smell? And through what? What should one hear? And through what? What should one think? And through what? What should one know? And through what? Through what should one know that, owing to which all this is known? Through what should one know the knower? To summarize, we are pure consciousness, part of the cosmic mind, evolved into a particular species to learn. We are an instrument of the universal consciousness. We journey out into nature, Prakriti, to experience, to learn, to evolve. For each experience, we are given the correct equipment: genetic, circumstances, bodies, minds, rich, poor, etc., as we journey into Prakriti, out to the outer regions of consciousness, eventually to return from these experiences to once again become part of the whole. Does it really matter if all life as we know it ceases to be? I hardly think so. We, in this form, are not aware of all the life forms within the universe. For that matter, universes beyond our conception? Scientists cannot even give us an answer. Recently, it was announced that they had discovered the age of the universe, which they thought was 18 billion years, to be only 8 billion years. However, that would mean that the oldest stars in our universe are older than the universe most confusing. The human life form is not the be-all and end-all of existence, and we, the self, can experience and evolve where we need to. We will always find a way. Evolution is not confined to the physical, but goes on through the astral spheres. We must and eventually will return to the Godhead. This life is only a passing experience, a short interlude in our ongoing journey of evolution, and we must make the most of it, mindful not to waste a moment.
Now I would like you to once again look at your band on your hand and close your eyes and contemplate where you are. Open your eyes. Can anyone tell me that they are exactly the same vibration that they had this morning? Can anyone remember exactly the vibration they had this morning? What do you feel?
I don't know how to describe it. This morning it was like I was here, but now I'm sort of, I was peaceful. Now I'm not quite as more searching more.
But when you close your eyes in the stillness, it actually wasn't the same as this morning.
No.
But if you really wanted to give me an exact explanation of what it was this morning, exactly, you couldn't do it. Right? It's interesting because it's gone. You can't really remember the exact words I said when I opened the seminar, because it's gone. And one day you will be gone. That mind that you're thinking about will be gone. The body will be gone. The binds that hold you now will be severed. Therefore, the only thing that you can do is get on with it and learn. Learn, experience, and don't waste a minute. Because as we will learn tomorrow, there are only certain traits that you will take with you. Now, some of those traits you brought into this lifetime. You brought the fear of abandonment. You brought a fear of the darkness. You brought with you a fear of the void. Maya told me about a very great fear she had in childhood. She actually remembered how she died in a previous life. All these you brought with you. You didn't bring the good times, did you? You didn't remember your mum, did you? You don't remember the language, do you? And you thought you couldn't, say, now you're speaking English, You think you can't forget English. It's interesting. Could any of you speak another language when you were very tiny? Another language when you were very tiny? No? So you did? No, one that you remembered. Not the language that your parents were teaching you.
Just the language of my parents.
Yeah.
On this.
Yeah, no, not the last time. No.
Sorry.
So you see, all these things that you forgot, you think that you would never forget, you forgot. I can never remember I put anything an hour ago, let alone, I could do it. So you will not take this mind that remembers everything. You realise that when you come into this life, you were taught to walk, you were taught to talk. Isn't that correct? You didn't remember how to do it. You forgot. Because that part of your brain, which we call the physical part of your brain, you lost and you got a new fresh one. So that your conscious mind, subconscious mind dissipated as you took a new life. The only part was deep traits from the subconscious mind, which is the mind of subliminal traits. Interesting, isn't it? So why worry about what was before? You can't even remember what language you spoke before. But you know now that all of you have something in common, which has brought you to this point in time.
So the subliminal traits, are they like the things that we have?
Yeah. And yet you really can't remember what the fear was. So when you're young, when you're very close to that, having brought it in, you're reliving it. But you don't know why. Interesting, isn't it?
Miss Mommy, where is that? It's not in your new mind, is it?
Yes.
It is, it's in your...
You still bring it in, that's then the foundation. You can't get rid of it, you see. You didn't throw it away. You didn't use it up. So tomorrow we learn that when the Kundalini rises on death, it takes with it the most important parts. That's why don't hanky-panky when you die, right? Which happens. So you will take that last, thought away, and you will, if you can, die as a yogi, as our little Gus did when he died of cancer. He remembered what I told him, and his last words to his sister were, "Tell Swami I remembered." And I knew that he would die as a yogi. And that will wipe everything out. Interesting, isn't it? So don't waste your time. Get on with it. Now, you can't all lie down here, otherwise we'll have a carpet of humankind. So just sit really comfy, and I'm going to just relax you now for a little bit. Before we do, while you're all doing that, has anyone got any questions they want to ask me beforehand? Because you won't probably remember. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, this is something that always comes up. You're mentioning that when we do die, that we only take sort of very minimal with us. Why is it sometimes that the children do come in with memory of past life? And why do you always say action, reaction? If everything is it so significant what we do hold inside, and how we shouldn't be holding too much because it's helping us to evolve to just be like a freer individual? And is it that the children bring these things in because then they must work through these things?
Yes, and usually they will come in and work it off in the first 12 years of their life. And they will have chosen the parents for it. And remember, when was it, on Thursday night, we had this sort of little party thing at my daughter's, and she complained, and I said, remember? She said, I know, I chose you. So don't give me any trouble. And they choose you to either nurture them to overcome it, because then Yogi says that after the 12th year, then they are on their own sort of thing, in the spiritual sense, they're on their own. Now, if you've had a child that's been a real little darling and it was just the pride of your eye, and all of a sudden it, hits town running at the age of 12 or 13, it's their karma. And this is their experience. So, you as a yogi must understand that as well. Because the possibility was that you would become a yogi. Therefore, the one that came in to you to be looked after and nurtured for a certain amount of time, you don't own them, they don't own you. In yogic terms, there's no father and mother. The father and mother is the spiritual teacher, actually. So, they are yours to look after and to nurture and to give back. Don't cling. I remember when my grandmother died, I was actually not allowed on that subtle level to be with her when she died. And even, I was going there, not physically, but, I got another way of doing it. And my teacher said, no, this is for us, not you. So I was pretty upset about it, because the next day I went and did the laying out bit. And when I was in India, I was terribly upset. So I said to my teacher, you don't understand me, which is what I always like to say. Anyone tries that on me, it doesn't work, because I'm the world's best at that. You don't understand me. I'm grieving for my grandmother. She's dead. He said, oh, no, you're not. I said, what are you talking about? He said, she is grieving for you, not you for her. That was a turning point. When I stopped and thought, no, I'm not grieving for her. It was her grieving for me. See, she didn't cut the tie. Therefore, you have to cut the tie. You have got the knowledge now. You let the child grow up, nurture it, take care of it. But don't hang on to it like as if it's, your lifeline. And don't live through your children when they're older. They must live their life and you've got to live yours. I've got a very sharp tongue with mine, but I try to sort of let them also go through the trauma that they have to go through, because that's what they want to go through. So yes, they do remember, and if you're a good yogi, you will not say that's silly. You see? Another mother would say that's a silly thing to do. Now, don't you go to Mass and confess, isn't it? How many of you here are Catholics, were Catholics, could be Catholics? Very interesting, huh? You like the rituals. I'll bet you've got a bit of that in you. So, all right then. Any other question while we're at it? Don't forget to read your book. Yes.
Okay, there was just one that you were talking about this morning about experience and how we are sort of an expression of universal consciousness, having a desire or a thought. And I can't remember exactly what you said, but there was a moment when I thought, is it true then that we are here to experience for God? Like if I eat, am I eating for God?
Yeah.
It was something that you said about the Creator cannot participate in its own
You see,
creation.
when you meditate, you are going to use Prakriti and you are going to use ether. You're going to use the vibration and the movement of the vibration. The Prakriti will come in the breath. The ether is within the base of the spine, the energetic vibration. So what you're going to do is do the same as in, we read in Cosmology, with repeated blows, with movement and energetic movement, the Kundalini rises. Now, everything that you do is, if you practice that everything that you do is an experience and that you are not the body but, say, higher intelligence or universal or consciousness itself, then you'll know that this consciousness itself is not the ultimate consciousness, because you don't know everything. If you were to remember a few of your lives, you'd blow your brain. So there is something beyond you that knows everything, the creator of the created. Now I say that energy is the father of creation. So energy created. So if you like, your consciousness will one day merge. So everything that you're doing is for that moment in time and will be for that creative energy. Because we say that the soul is the enjoyer, but the overall soul is the overall enjoyer. And I tell you quite often that story of feeding the magpie. When at that moment I knew that universal consciousness was experiencing being fed and feeding. So your hand is an instrument of your higher consciousness, which is an instrument of universal consciousness. So what you've got to do is throw away all those grizzly moanies and groanies and remember that your body is the temple of your soul. Does that answer your question?
Which has just taken on a whole new dimension for me. Thank you.
That's all right. I like to make it less complicated. All right then. So let's close our eyes. We're just trying to form Michelle's, get a hit on the head, those two Michelles. Yeah. Close your eyes. Now, are you all comfortable? Because I need you to be comfortable now. Totally comfortable. Put your palms up on your knees or anywhere. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose, full pranayama all the way down, and open your mouth and just let it go. Another deep breath in and let it go. And just relax your breathing and bring all your awareness now to the top of the head. Feel the top of your head. Run your awareness all the way down the head, front of the face, the scalp and the ears, and the neck, the throat. Bring your awareness into the shoulders and the arms and the hands and the fingers. Put your awareness into the palms of your hands right in the very center. Bring your awareness now into the chest, solar plexus, abdomen, your back, your hips and your legs. Run your awareness down to the knees, the lower legs, ankles, foot, soles of the feet. Be totally aware of your body, totally aware of it. Now take a deep breath in through the nose, all the way through the entire body, all the way through where consciousness is, and then blow out all the stress. Just let it go. And open your eyes. So again, I ask you please read your book and We'll see you tomorrow.